Welcome to AARP's Black Community Book Club. I'm your host, Edna Kane Williams. We're here today with Caroline Clarke, co-host of the Black Enterprise Business Report, who has a brand new book out called Postcards from Cookie. Welcome, Caroline.
Thanks, Edna.
Glad that you can be here. Now, your new book, Postcards from Cookie, tells a very personal story. What was it like creating that? I mean, it's a very personal story. I've mentioned to you, it almost reads like a novel. It's really incredible.
Thank you so much.
In a wonderful way.
Thank you, thank you. You know, it's a real departure for me. I'm a business journalist, and this is a very personal story. So it was difficult to do. It was mining a lot of emotional territory and making public something that was very private. But I felt as if this extraordinary series of experiences happened to me, and it felt like an enormous gift and really just too big to keep. Yeah.
What was the trajectory? It was hard to tell from the book, from when you went through it to the writing of it. Was it sort of concurrent, or did you put it away for a while and then write the book?
Yeah, it was about 12 years, or I guess really about 10 years, from finding my birth mother accidentally to sitting down to start this book. The book took about 1.5 years to write, which was longer than I expected.
And to me, it was intended for you to figure it out. I was so struck. You hadn't even gotten home yet when in the car, when you're just sort of thinking. I mean, that's really incredible. What was it hard to tell both sets of parents or family members that you were going to do this? What were their reactions? How did they think about you going? What did they think about you going public?
You know what's funny? I never was going to search. I always felt that I really was where I belonged. I have a wonderful, wonderful family. So when I went looking for medical information, my parents didn't even have any idea I was doing that. I didn't see the point of telling them, because I didn't expect to find out much, right? It was a long shot, but I thought it was worth taking.
And you seem more interested in the medical details than the personal details almost initially.
Well, you know, I had been having these joint issues for a number of years, and anyone you go to the doctor, the first question is, well, what's your medical history? And for adoptees, it really gets to be frustrating, and it can be truly detrimental just not knowing what your genetic makeup is. And so I thought it was worth the shot to find out if there was anything to know. But I knew that my birth mother had been very young when she had me. So, you know, chances were she walked out of there, even if she got hit by a car, no one would have called the agency.
Just need to let them know.
So when I was told not only some medical details, but this portrait of my birth family at the time of my birth was painted, and it included things like what my birth mother looked like, the ages of her siblings at the time I was born, and it was a unique family. There were 5 kids, and there was an 18-year spread between my birth mother and her youngest siblings. Left the agency, got in my car. It wasn't 10 minutes when I realized I knew this family, because one of her sisters, one of her youngest sisters, had been a friend of mine since college.
20 years or so, right?
20 years.
Just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah.
What has been the reaction to the book, and have you been embraced by the adoption community, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I'm a huge adoption advocate. I'm on the board, actually, of the agency where I was adopted, Spence Chapin, in New York, and it has a century of experience in this area. So our board is interesting because it's made up of adoptees, adoptive parents, and birth parents. So the full triad, as they call it, is represented. And, you know, each one of those angles approaches adoption from a very different perspective. Very different to be an adopted child, a birth mother, an adoptive parent.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to please everyone, really, in that set. But you know, really, I've been completely blown away. The outpouring of support and appreciation for this book has been really extraordinary, and that feels great, because I really only wrote it hoping to uplift people and sort of make them feel that if you really trust life and let it kind of do its thing, it's going to turn out okay, and can give back in ways that you never anticipated. And I think all of us, not just in the adoption community, you know, there are shadowy areas of our families and our lives that
especially in the Black community, right?
And we don't want to look, and we don't want to peek, and people tell you not to. But I think when you do, even if what you find is not all wonder and light, it helps make you whole, and that helps make you heal. So it's, you know, it's usually worth it.
In your case, again, it was almost disbelief, and I could really relate to you when you first were sitting listening. It's like, they're so wealthy. That's not typical. You know, you kept
I
pushing back. It's like,
oh.
you know, and you know, even later in the car when you're just trying to, well, most black folk, they just keep the babies.
Exactly.
They just really,
yeah, I mean, we
compelling.
do.
Right.
Still
That's
today,
right.
we raise, you know, grandchildren,
right.
cousins,
Right.
nephews, nieces as
Right.
children.
Right.
Right.
I have family members who's like, wait, my mother is my sister? How does that work?
Right.
But, you know,
we
20
all
years later,
do.
we
And
have
you
the
know what's
secrets.
funny to me, since this book came out, so many people, I've heard stories, like Jack Nicholson, the actor, is someone who was raised with a woman who he thought was his sister. Turned out it was his mother.
Really?
And these different stories are coming to me, you know, and it's just, it is part of our history.
Right.
And in the African American community in particular, I did not, when I heard about this family, which wasn't just sort of run of the mill, well off, clearly they were.
Right.
I said, you know, this poor girl made up this story. She had a very rich fantasy life, and I do not see why you didn't see through it, because I'm not buying it.
Right, right.
It was true.
It was true. It was true. Now that's about the book and your new career as an author, although I know that you've written other books. I want to talk a little bit, because you're also a very accomplished journalist and have done a lot with business executives, black business executives. You work at Black Enterprise. Your husband is a part of, that was another incredible thing. It's like, boy, two huge families in the African American community, the Graves and the Coles. I've been trying not to say that because I don't want to give out too much.
It's okay. It's out there now.
But talking about your experience with black entrepreneurs now, because that's a real focus for AARP. We're doing a lot in terms of trying to help people come to grips with what's happening with the employment situation, the post-recession impact in the African American community. We know that African Americans really turn to entrepreneurship as a way out, and as not just a last resort, a last sort of hope. But they don't always do it expertly. What kind of suggestions, what kind of challenges or lessons learned have you seen working so intimately with the black business community?
You know, we have such a rich history of entrepreneurship in our community, and it's something that I think really through assimilation we pulled away from, because the goal was to get through all these doors that had been closed to us for so long, corporate doors in particular. But there is a huge resurgence, obviously, for small business in this country, not just in the black community. And I think people need to recognize, you know, not everyone has that chip. You can be incredibly organized and accomplished and smart. Doesn't mean that you can just jump out there and run a business.
Right. I know I can't.
You really, and I know I can't, to be quite honest. It takes enormous persistence. You do, every successful entrepreneur I've ever interviewed has that no is fuel gene, you know. They hear no, it makes them go.
I see. Oh, okay. They don't take no for an answer.
So they eat no for breakfast.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of mentality. And I think when you have that, you will make it, because the no's are going to come at you a lot, for financing, for partners, for location for your business, for clients. A zillion people may say to you, that idea is ridiculous, you know.
You can't do that.
It really is that person who is just going to do it no matter what. And there are a lot of those people. And I think what's so great now is that a lot of young people are not even looking to corporate America the way our generation, you know, they really have just decided, they have decided, I'm gonna float my own boat and I'm gonna make it work. And they're doing it in multi-layered ways. And I think that our generation, we can really take a lesson from them. Social media offers a wealth of opportunities and ways to brand yourself that are extremely inexpensive, ways to get clients, ways to get financing.
That didn't exist 5 years ago, right?
Right. And so those of us who weren't sort of born with, you know, a silver computer in our mouth need to get to the place where we stop saying, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do it the old school way, because they're making it work, you know, and there's a lot of flexibility there, and embracing that can open up, you know, whole new worlds to you that can really be enriching.
Is it harder for someone, an entrepreneur starting out after 50, do you think, or
I don't think
the same
so.
time?
I don't think so, because I think there's no substitute for life experience. There just isn't. And I know our culture is so oriented toward youth, but I think particularly in the entrepreneurial space, you're going to automatically have a deeper well of contacts,
right.
but you need to appreciate
right.
that well.
Right.
Sometimes you take for granted
right. That's true.
who you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know people, and really just by virtue of having been around longer, you know more people.
Right.
And I bet you know more people who really can help you and make a difference than you even appreciate till you really look at that log.
Right. Great advice. Now, this part of the interview is sort of disconnected to the other two pieces. I just want to run a couple of rapid-fire questions and have you just answer off the top of your head.
Okay.
Let's see. What's your favorite book, other than the one the ones that you've written?
Right now, I'm reading two books: Robin Roberts' new book, and Thrive by Arianna Huffington.
Oh, I've read about that one. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would it be that you dedicate your life to?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. In my dreams, I'd be a dancer.
Really? Really?
In my dreams.
Theme song for your life.
Theme song for my life. This is going to sound corny because it's related to the book, but it would be Love, L-O-V-E, that Nat King Cole sang.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Nat King Cole really was a favorite
Yes.
in my house. My parents loved him, my dad in particular.
Right, that came across
but
in the book.
I really loved him. And I sang that song to my children when they were little at bedtime, and it's a simple song, but my life has been shaped more by that than anything.
Wow, wonderful. Last quick question. What would the first line of your obituary read?
She was very lucky. She was very blessed.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Edna.
Now it's time for you to join the discussion. Tell us what you think about Postcards from Cookie by writing in the comments section below. Then continue the conversation on the AARP Black Community Book Club Facebook page. Next month, I talk to Russell Simmons about his bestseller, Success Through Stillness. And if you haven't seen them yet, check out my interviews with Pearl Clegg and Nikki Giovanni. Until next time, thanks so much for joining us.